Hey there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Thank you so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live Weather. The current time is 2:25 p.m. And again, paramount among all things, I think, going on in general here across North Mississippi in the wake of the ice storm remains power outage restoration. You can see still by percentage, the most significant power outages in the entire country continue to be here across many sections of North, Central, and West Mississippi, back into Louisiana. We've been talking for the last couple of days here with Northern District Public Service Commissioner Chris Brown. He joins us once again here on Mississippi Live. Appreciate you so much for coming in to talk with us. Before we get into this graphic that I have next to me here, I want to again showcase the fact that you guys have some pretty exciting news, right?
We do, thankfully. I know that all your listeners and people around the district know that the TVA lines went down, and I don't know if you've seen the videos of the helicopter linemen, the linemen working from a helicopter, but all that's paid off. I think that it just shows just how hard it was to get to those power lines, and it's pretty amazing to watch them work like that. And so with that extra effort, they were able to get the last supply line from TVA repaired, and so it was North Crossroads in Tisch County. So that final TVA line is repaired. Now, that I have to stress that doesn't mean that everything comes back up automatically. That means the main line coming into the local power companies has been restored, but it's going to take a little while to get the local power companies to cut their way through the trees and power lines and energize each home from there. So the TVA battle was one part of it. It's completed. So now it goes to the local power companies that have already been hard at work. So don't want to give anybody the indication that they've not been working. They've been hard at work, clearing right of ways and getting ready for those final distribution lines to be restored, so they can get it to their substations and then out to each home from there. So it's another battle won, but we're still in the war, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the pictures that, again, we're showing here continue to show, obviously, the tremendous the tremendous tree damage still ongoing. I know there's some people maybe in Tupelo, south and east, that just don't understand the incredible extent to the damage and the fact that you still have limbs falling and arcing and causing other outages, as they try to go through and try to clean things up.
And I posted a video yesterday. I was in the northern part of the district, going from Highway 72, which was completely ice. All four lanes were completely ice, and I was traveling from 72 down to Holly Springs on Highway 7, and it was solid ice, 2-lane. There was barely any roadway visible through the ice. It was just completely covered. And I came across numerous bucket trucks for linemen repairing lines, and then also those that were stopped at a slough where the power lines went over the water in a swamp, if you will, and the power lines were down in the swamp. So the water was frozen, the roads are frozen, and they still had a hard time trying to get to those power lines. So it is still a tremendous amount of work to do. And more and more crews are coming every day to try to help assist our local power companies. And it's going to take some time, but it's slow, steady progress.
It is progress, So the power situation, we at least, this is, I guess, somewhat equivalent to the idea that, you have the power switched on to the house, but then all the outlets aren't necessarily on. You have to go through and make sure all the lines are connected to the outlets before you can kind of flick the switches on for each of those. So you might have the power come into the house, but that doesn't mean your light switch is going to work. And I shouldn't use that example because that implies that the power is already there. But essentially, it's an important key part of it, but the individual houses, individual circuits have to be reactivated, and that takes clearing.
Yeah, and it's all part of a line. So if you can visual your listeners, you line in from TA to a substation, and that substation powers the lines going out to each individual home and business. And so you have to start from the substation and go out. You can't start at the end of the line and come back, because the power starts and originates from the substation. So the power companies have to go from the substation out from there. They can't start in the middle of the woods and come back towards the substation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's so many specific reasons why specific people get their power back in a specific order, and it's not, hey, we want Joe so and so to get it first. It's because that's just the way everything overlaps there. So again, headline this hour:
I'll tell you,
all of the transmission lines are re-engaged, and now some of the work will become obvious of the local power cooperatives that they've been doing over the last couple of days to prep for that re-engagement. But ultimately, there's still a ton of work by those local cooperatives that still have to happen.
there are, and I can't stress enough that there's still lots of need. There was a video that I posted on the story of on I-55. The traffic's just stopped, and the local Chick-fil-A operator donated some Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and some Good Samaritans are riding their four-wheelers down I-55, offering those people stranded water and Chick-fil-A sandwiches. So we are Mississippi, and we are joining together. I've had friends from all over the district. Good friend of mine in Lafayette County, he has power, so he's having a bunch of college students that don't have resources into his home, feeding them. Another friend of mine in Lafayette County, she's doing the same thing. She has a generator, so she's letting her neighbors come and shower at her home. So I think she said she had 10 coming today. So and she's feeding the linemen too, such as they have. So we are doing everything we can. So don't forget about, even though in Tupelo and other parts of the district in your listening area, it's bright and shiny, sun shining, and kind of life is normal. Let's not forget our neighbors that are still iced in with no power, no water. So I know our teams are working hard and hand in glove with TVA and MEMA and local power companies to try to help any way we can. But obviously they're the heroes in this, and they're tackling this full force, and more lineman assets are coming on as we speak.
You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon speaking with Northern District Public Service Commissioner Chris Brown. If you missed off the top, the last TVA transmission line has been now energized. That means all of the ability for TVA to deliver electricity to local cooperatives is now re-energized. And so that's an important step in this process. But on the local level, the power outage is still affecting not obviously just the electricity, but the delivery of water in some cases. And that's where your office is to a certain extent asking for help from the public, but ultimately just trying to make the connections for these local water associations, right?
Yes, sir. And yesterday we were able to get 3 water systems up just from that call yesterday. So if you have any generators available, 150 kilowatts or more is what it takes. 100 kilowatts or 150 kilowatt generator to be able to get these pumps up and going. So I know that a friend of mine in Jackson heard, and he donated a generator which got a local water system going in Benton County, which alleviated the generator they were getting to go fix a water system in Kossuth. So there's a need still out there, and I know there were some water associations reporting that they had generators, but they were having a hard time with fuel. And again, for your listeners and those watching, when you get north, the roads are iced over, the gas stations are closed, so there are fuel shortages up in the northern part. So they're having to come all the way down to Tupelo and other areas that have service and fuel to be able to get fuel to run their generators. So National Guard and those assets are in place now, and I've heard that the National Guard, I think it's 155th, is out with some refueling systems to bring diesel. So as long as the diesel generator, they have fuel that they can deliver to those locations to get those generators back up and going.
We're looking at an internal document that you sent me right before we went live here. And so this kind of shows, what you guys are trying to figure out as you patch together, which associations need it, how large are they? This is a real need. And I'm going to put the kind of information on the screen for folks at home to see here for a second. But if you have a generator land, especially generators of a significant enough size there, that's your number at the PSC, Public Service Commission. So that, as crazy as it sounds, these people, somebody could could be lacking water, and you could be allowing them to get fresh water just because of a generator that you needed for the storm but haven't needed since.
Yeah, the talk that we went on yesterday, and we mentioned this, and like I said, I think we've had at least 4 systems restored because of that one little snippet. So hopefully, other people will hear this and reach out to us, and we'll put the 2 groups together to be able to supply these needs. Because again, as you see by the list there, that's put out by the Mississippi Rural Water Association, and those guys are doing a fantastic job, and that's their list. And we're working hand in glove with them to make sure that local water systems have what they need to get back online. So again, we're just an advocate for them, trying to help any way we can, and that's the power companies, the water systems, everything out there. We're all one team. We're all working to try to get power and water restored as quick as we can by any means necessary.
I mean, it just kind of emphasizes the situation we're in here, that we're talking not about individual citizens needing generators, which many would love to have, but these are a critical element. If you think of the things needed to survive: food, water, oxygen. This is an adequate shelter. This is one of the components to that.
Water is extremely important, and these local water systems, I've talked to so many of their operators doing everything they can, and some of them, when they get the generator and get their pump back going, there's water breaks, but water hasn't been moving, and so they've had water lines freeze. So again, it's you got to fix one to fix another, and it's some. The suffering that our cities are going through with water and power. Thankfully, the temperature climbing today in Tupelo area, it's 50 degrees, so that's helping a lot. I saw some of your videos for the places melting. There's so much up north of here. We need a lot of days like this to be able to get unburied from the ice, but just pray that we get warmer temperatures and the ice continues to melt.
Absolutely. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpond. We're on with the Northern District Public Service Commissioner, Chris Brown, of course, talking about the power outage situation, but also some of the water outages, water difficulties that communities across North Mississippi are facing at this time. There's just, a lot of different things that get impacted when the power goes out. And so, like you mentioned, there's just so many different contingencies. Water hasn't been moving in the system. We think of moving water in a house. You're not necessarily thinking that once water becomes static in the entire system, that then you have line breaks, and then you have boil water notices. And so you have a situation
Correct.
where if you don't have electricity, it becomes difficult to boil your water, but boiling water is necessary when you lose pressure in the system. It's just there's so many factors that loss of electrical energy causes on the different levels here, unfortunately.
And it's like, I think we spoke yesterday. It seems like we have these every 20 or 30 years, and it's a perfect storm, if you will, to where everything kind of converges at the same time to cause tremendous difficulties on our infrastructure. Our power way clearing and trying to head this off, but the weather was like it. We'll learn some lessons we always do, but that storm like this every.
I lost a little bit of that. Your connection's gone down somewhat, and I have to say, the last couple of days where we've had you out in some of the far-flung parts of the area, the fact we've even been able to connect at all is kind of amazing. It's another one of those factors when you look at the cell phone service on this, and we talked about yesterday, that gets somewhat overloaded by people, again, not having power, so they can't be on personal Wi-Fi. Now they're on cell phones. And largely, a lot of those cell phone connections have still remained at least somewhat reliable, which is kind of amazing. I will say, while we're talking here just a second ago, and I know that this map here updates a little slower than others, I did notice it update with, now showing closer to 100,000 outages in the state. That's still a tremendous number, but that's also almost a 50% improvement from where we were at our peak. So just keeping things in perspective, this is going to be a long go, but that is an improvement.
It definitely is, and again, traveling yesterday, seeing the ice and the damage, I just can't stress enough. The people that are in it, they see it. The folks in Oxford and Lafayette County and Grenada even, and all the way up to Ripley and Corinth and Tissue and Iuka and Holly Springs and all those areas have been extremely impacted by the ice and the weather, and so it's going to take a while to get unburied from all this.
Absolutely. So again, to kind of recap for folks at home, a big headline: all transmission lines have been reestablished for a TVA to the local electric power cooperatives. Now it's about the people in the field trying to get everything all settled. And hey, Commissioner Brown, I can let you go if you need to.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. I'll contact you when I have more. And thank you so much for covering this and for what you're doing for the citizens of the Northern District.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for what you've been doing. I mean, out in the field, talking to people from the very beginning. We really appreciate it. And again, thank you so much for your service. That's Chris Brown, who's the Public Service Commissioner in Northern District. Join us here on Mississippi Live, again, giving updates related to this severe winter weather that we have had recently and the power outage situation. So power outages do continue to improve, albeit I'm sure not fast enough for a lot of folks at home. And I'm not telling you that this is or should be considered fast enough. I'm just saying that there's been progress, but until your lights come back on, I 100% get that it is not fast enough. One of the things that he mentioned, and I want to bring this back up on the screen for you as well, is that there is a need for generators, especially, well, you might say utility grade generators. And the reason for that is because generators are necessary for water systems to be able to continue to pump water into their towers and to other people as well. So the issue that we're running into in some cases is that the local power cooperatives, when their power went down, the local water associations then don't have electricity to pump. In some cases, the backup generators have failed, or they didn't have backup generators at all. And so when we look at I'll pull it up here. This is, of course, the helicopter used to reestablish the TVA line. But this is what I was going to pull up. The list that he provided of generators, or at least locations looking for generators. There's still a pretty substantial number of those out there. Some of these are large water associations. Some of these are smaller. But trying to connect generators that you might have to people who need them. And not just people, but water associations, so they can pump water to people's homes. That's something where you at home at this moment, if you're in possession of a fairly large size generator in some cases, that you can help. So look at the number on the screen there. It says PSC : call 662-432-1141. If you call that number, you'll probably talk to Chris himself, and certainly it'll ring the office there. And then you can, if you have a generator that you can at least temporarily lend, that certainly would make a difference, because even trying to get fuel to some of these generators so they can keep pumping the water, that has been a challenge. So it's just so many different challenges related to this here. I want to also emphasize that travel remains hazardous for many spots. I know Tupelo, you go outside in Tupelo. Let's just show this for a second. I'm sure there's somebody in Tupelo or Blue Springs, maybe even, or Sherman. You look at these cameras on MDOT, they're meh, looks normal, right? Dirty, needs cleaned, but looks fairly normal. The problem is that you go up closer to Holly Springs. I'll click this here. The westbound lanes largely blocked, and there in Marshall County, they have gone ahead and said, hey, we're not going to allow travel north and westward on I-22. I mean, it looks like a completely different state, if we're honest here. Travel in a few spots there is still somewhat moving, but in other spots not. It took, in some cases, local people going and trying to rescue folks, especially in Panola County last night, where I-55 northbound as you can see here, remains closed. That's kind of what the little lines there indicate. Remains closed because there are so many people that got stuck, and it largely turned into a parking lot with the cold conditions. So I-55 northbound, MDOT is asking folks to not travel, not I-55 northbound, and honestly, in the northern and western portion of the state, discouraging travel still at this point. If we go up and 72, a lot of 72 is rough, especially when you get up toward northwest Mississippi, but also in northeast Mississippi as well. So again, some travel issues there. Obviously, the power out issues. And then with more cold air on the way, we expect we'll continue to probably have some days here where we're stressing the system. And for all those folks who are still out of power, obviously some big impacts related to that. We'll have more coming up during our 5 o'clock broadcast, 5 p.m. today. We hope to talk to some additional folks as we get updates here across North Mississippi. Hope to talk to the Panola County Emergency Manager. Obviously had a huge day yesterday, continuing to help try to assess and get the power back on there in Panola County, Batesville area. We'll talk to them. We'll also hopefully talk to the folks out in Grenada at 6 p.m. To get an update on how things are progressing in the 55 corridor there. That's coming up in Mississippi Live weather a little bit later on today. But for all of us here at Mississippi Live, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopp. I'll keep it here for the latest.
Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick? The Cobb salad. Tender oven-roasted chicken, topped with cheese. Prepared, plated, and served? In 6 minutes? Is this for real? Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.